in my phone.
Court is in session with Ryan in Sacktown on If You Don't Like That. Now, Ryan in Sacktown.
Oh, must be Rhino. As we begin to file in on a Tuesday, what is going on, everybody? It is a Jerry Reynolds Tuesday. He'll be here about 2:30 today. We're talking Kings basketball. We're talking NBA. We're also going to probably talk some football and whatever else comes up. I want your questions for Jerry. I ask this every Tuesday when Jerry comes on the Kings court. Give me your questions. Ha, Bane, caught you. Bane, thought you're being cute. It's a Tuesday. We were not on the air Monday because we did a 4:00 show with Grant yesterday, getting you ready for Monday Night Football. Also, you can call the show. You know this. The link is in the chat. Would love to have you up in here. You can also use the QR code on the screen. If you want to get in that way, we're brought to you today by Bennett's. That's right. Bennett's West Side Grill in Rockland. Go to Bennett'sRestaurants.com. You can check out all 3 of their locations. Hopefully you made it out this last weekend brunch, and then they've got the happy hours during the week. That's tonight. But they had the prime rib special. So get out there, indeed. Go to Bennett'sRestaurants.com. Here we go, okay? I expected some of the smack. By the way, Napes and I, we're going to be on the air tonight, 8 o'clock. Make sure you can join us for that. We'd love to have you. Sean Salisbury. So normally that is the Tuesday show. That is why Jerry and I come on Tuesday nights. Well, Sean has moved to Wednesdays. Not sure if you saw Grant's X announcement yesterday. So going forward, Sean Salisbury, Grant, 3 o'clock on Wednesdays. So that will be the new time slot. We will do night court on Wednesdays going forward. So we'll have Jerry live here. So much to talk about. We have not gotten back together since the weekend. And football, we could start there. Got plenty of thoughts. Look, I told you guys at the start of the season about this fantasy football thing, right? I'm in 2 different leagues. And I got to decide the punishment in one of the leagues, but then I had all these people in my ear, guys like this, like take Christian McCaffrey. Dude, you got to take McCaffrey. He's number 1, right? So you got to take McCaffrey. What the hell is going on with the Niners? The injuries. Look, we talked about the Niners coming into the season with all the wrong mojo. Everything this offseason did not go to plan as they hoped. It was not as smooth as the Niners wanted it to be. And now you learn that Deebo Samuel is going to be out a couple games with a with a calf strain, which is really worrisome, super worrisome. You've already got Christian McCaffrey on the IR with some Achilles tendonitis, with a calf issue. And we're going to break it down here in a minute and get more into depth on the Niners. But Dennis, I see you in the chat, man. How are you how you feeling, dude? How you feeling about this team? Some of you, though, in our Pick'em League, you guys are doing okay. Blue Chaos had a big week. Corn Dog dropped all the way down. I think he's out of the top 10 now. So, Corn Dog, where are you at? Big weekend in college football as well. Did anybody watch UFC 306? First sporting event from the Spear in Las Vegas. It was breathtaking. And the front end of the card, 3 of the best fights I have seen in a long time from the UFC. Wouldn't mind talking about that. But back to the chat. Vlad, what's up, man? Happy to have you back. Did you guys see we've got the YouTube problem resolved. It was a problem on Restream's end, which is our broadcasting software. We're hoping it does not become a problem again. So if you see any issues trying to get on the show, I see the chat. So obviously, I don't think that we are having issues. Point them out to us. We would greatly appreciate it. And yeah, Ryan takes a lot of days off these days. He's a slacker. No, I do not take days off. I worked yesterday. I'm working today. Oh, by the way, did you get the exclusive audio, Haunted Horse, on the King's Court? Did you get that audio? Spotify, Apple. No days off, buddy. No days off. Adam, ask Jerry if he likes the purple Sacramento jerseys returning. Yeah, I was thinking about asking Jerry about some of his favorite Kings jerseys. I think it's pretty universal that everybody hated the purple. That satin kind of velour purple, that shiny purple, that was awful. But the Kings did a decent job with those ads. I retweeted it if you have not seen that. I believe those are from 2000. Well, they wore them for a few years. I think they first debuted, though, 2003. I want to say is when the classic editions debuted. Also, what do you want me to ask him? Down that jersey was his number one moment in 40 years of Sac Kings history. Okay. I'll try to work that in. I don't mind that. I will work that in. Jerry does like Gunther. Dennis, the old school look, I put this to the Kings too. I said, this is great. How about 2001? To me, 2001, those are and it's not because it was the team we all remember. Those were the best uniforms. The all purple that has that Kings, those were so sick. I want to see those come back, but maybe they're holding out for this team just to get a little bit better. We do have Kings news, by the way. We'll talk about that with Jerry once he gets here in a little bit. Monday Night Football last night. Last night is a classic example of why I don't bet on football games. I don't do it. If you were betting on that game, you were on a roller coaster ride. But we'll talk more about the game itself. Nick Sirianni and how do the Eagles explain this to me? Everybody wants to talk about the call to throw the ball on fourth down, right? You want to talk about that? I don't care about that. It was fine. Saquon dropped the ball. It is what it is. What I want to talk about is the defense on that closing drive, the game-winning drive from the Falcons. It looked like a 7-on-7 drill. They just opened up the middle of the field. I mean, Matt Ryan, Kirk Cousins didn't do anything special to drive them down. And with 3 or 4 plays later, they're in the red zone. And now you're thinking about, all right, well, do you let the Falcons score so you can have some time left on the clock? Also, last night, the tush push. Man, we've talked about it at length on this show, and I know a lot of other media outlets cover it. That play, just I'm on the edge of my seat, not in a good way when I'm watching that play. They were talking in the booth about being the center, having to get a clean snap and then still get down that low. But if you don't want guys putting their heads down, then you should probably ban the play. And I'm not advocating for banning the play, but is there a more dangerous every down play in football than that? I don't think so. It's effective. Now, I think the Eagles need to work on a few wrinkles out of that because you've got everybody that's crashing down in. You're not even thinking about the edges. Could you do a bootleg out of that? Could you run somebody into the flats? Probably, but it's early in the season. And again, 2 weeks through the NFL season, and there are some big surprises in the NFL. And I think really the most notable one to me is the fact, making sure that this is not Jerry. Very good. That's Dennis hitting me up in the show on DM. No, the most notable thing to me is we continue to see this trend of quarterbacks that have struggled in different locations. They've struggled in different programs. In some manner, they've been written off But now you're seeing Sam Darnold through 2 games look pretty damn good for this Minnesota team. And the guy that really is the pioneer of this a couple of years back, Geno Smith, who himself, a guy that usually needs the running game to be going in order to get that passing game going. The running game did nothing for Seattle on Sunday, and Geno's arm carried them to an ugly victory over the New England Patriots. But you got Geno now, Sam Darnold. I'm not ready to say he's all the way there, but you saw things from Sam. It's a confidence. You see him getting out of the pocket a little bit, something he had never done much of in his career up until this point. And it makes you wonder, these guys, they're setting a path, they're setting a trail that probably the most notable as we sit today of the quarterbacks. Dennis, yeah, Derek Carr is a decent example of that. I think he fits into the conversation, but I think the one that is the best example is Baker Mayfield. Look at what Baker Mayfield's doing in Tampa Bay. It's absolutely incredible. Did you see the pressure that Baker was under in that game in Detroit? First off, one of the hardest places to play in the NFL, bar none. Easily one of the hardest places to play, and it's early in the season. But Baker, he's got a different swag, and that's a guy that always had swag. He is a leader in Tampa Bay. He is not afraid to take a hit. He is not afraid to step up and make a throw. This guy is back. This seems like it's exactly where he was meant to be. And you don't know if it's a system thing. You don't know if it's maturity, having a couple stops. But what I do know is it is incredible to see some of these quarterbacks get a second chance and succeed. For me, it's the highlight of the NFL season so far. Now, Baker isn't a huge surprise. A lot of people expected him to play well. Some picked Tampa to come out of that division. But then it makes you think about guys like Bryce Young. So Bryce Young has been benched in Carolina. Now, Bryce says, and his team says, they didn't see it coming. How could you not see it coming? His numbers are historically low and bad, really bad. The thing about small quarterbacks, and Jim Rome did his take on this earlier today, so I'm not trying to steal Rome's take. The problem is, to me, it's the only take. It is the right take. When you're a smaller guy like a Russell Wilson, like a Drew Brees, you have to do something so much better than any other quarterback, regardless of size. Escapability, that was Russ's thing. Drew Brees, accurate as hell. What about Bryce Young? What does he do that's special? Nothing. In fact, he looks like he's playing midget football in the NFL. He looks like he belongs on the middle school team, and it makes you wonder if this guy could be done in the NFL. We're sitting here talking about bounce back quarterbacks, but with Sam Darnold, with Baker, with Geno Smith to a degree, they were all significantly better at their worst than Bryce Young has been in his first year and 2 games in the NFL. And that Carolina Panthers team gave up a haul, including their best wide receiver, DJ Moore, 4 draft picks, which ends up turning into Caleb Williams for the Bears. Where does this franchise go? Yes, you're starting Andy Dalton, who is still serviceable, who is still a pretty darn good quarterback, backup quarterback in this league, but he's not going to Joe Flacco that team. He's not bringing that team back from the dead. Carolina is in a deep hole, and I feel for Bryce Young, but I just don't see it. I haven't seen it since day one. Grant has believed in him. I haven't seen it. He just is simply, he's a Tebow. He's a great college quarterback, but not a good NFL quarterback. So credit to Carolina for pulling the plug on that and pulling the plug early. Because if you continue going with that guy, when your teammates or the rest of that locker room does not think that he gives them the best chance to win, then you have lost that team. You've lost that locker room. So we'll see if Andy Dalton makes it any better. What I do know, a lot more experience. Andy Dalton's come off the bench, played well at times. So Bryce Young to the bench. We'll see what happens there. Let's get back to the chat really quick as we await Jerry Reynolds joining us here in about 15 minutes. We got a lot to talk about. If you have questions for Jerry, make sure that you get them in the chat. Want to try to get in as many as I can. You hated the Kings block logo uniform or jersey. Interesting, Adam. Dennis, wow, 0.7 chance for winning, for the Falcons winning. Well, we did see the Kings have a 99.9% chance last year of winning a couple games, and they dropped them. It happens, Dennis. It happens. Yes, Derek Carr, we talked about it. Baker, good job by you. Bane with his emoji that I can never see. Sam Darnold, yes, indeed. Now, again, okay, I don't want to make too much out of 2 weeks of NFL football. I think one thing that has been abundantly clear over the first 2 weeks of the NFL is passing's down right now. And is that partly due to the fact that some of these quarterbacks are not playing in the preseason? Probably, but you're seeing a lot more balanced attacks offensively. Look, the Steelers 2-0 with Justin Fields. He's not played particularly well, hasn't played particularly bad, but they're winning games. Defense is always ahead of offense this early in the season, but a guy like Derek Carr, where they should have won that game in Buffalo, they should have, but then they come out on the road and they hang 44 on the Cowboys. There's something there. Alvin Kamara, what a game by him. Something to watch. There's always, remember, on average, 6 teams from the year before usually do not make the playoffs, and you have 6 new teams that get in there. So could they be one of those teams? We'll see. Peter hopping in on the conversation. Sam Darnold's getting paid $10 million for 1 year. He's earning his pay, going from the backup to the starter. Not saying there's a bigger payday down the road, but it could be possible. Absolutely. Again, that's where we're only 2 games into the season. He's got to do it for 17 and some of the playoffs and or through the playoffs. I don't think Minnesota's ceiling is quite that high, but there is Sam Darnold. He's a Southern California dude. Kevin O'Connell, Southern California guy. I went to school actually with Kevin O'Connell. We lived 3 doors down from each other. He was the quarterback of the football team at SDSU during my time there. He was a good college quarterback, but he was a brilliant football mind. His mind was always twisting and turning and running when it came to football. So you get a couple guys that are a little bit more like-minded. They've come up in similar systems. It works out. I see it. I get it. You got to find the right fit, and it matters in the NFL. Dennis, he has 2 wins. I don't know how. Who? Sam Darnold? He has 2 wins. You don't know how he got 2 wins? Go watch the games. What's up, James? How you doing, my friend? Happy to have you here. Says Panthers front office. What can you say? Grant talks about it all the time. It's the quarterback position, and if you misjudge it, you can set your franchise back for 5, 6, 7 years. You get lucky, you get it right, i.e. the Texans. I've got a take, by the way, on CJ Stroud that I want to get to. Then you could be over the moon. The 49ers, look, Brock Purdy, he's the real deal. Brock Purdy is leading the league in passing yards right now. He is the real deal. And Brandon Ayuk, who has done nothing through 2 games, the spotlight's going to be on him now that Deebo Samuel is out. And the thing that concerns me the most about Brandon Ayuk is his ability right now to separate from defenders. It's not there. That pop, that burst, it's not there. When I look at this Niners team, without Debo Samuel now, who drastically, it's drastically a fair word, Dennis. I know you pay attention to the Niners more than I do because you're a fan and Haunted Horse as well, Niners fan. But Debo changed his body style. He leaned out, and he's one of those guys that runs with reckless aggression, reckless to the point where after the first game, and I understood why they did it because they were without Christian McCaffrey. I didn't think Debo could make it through a season if the Niners kept using him in the way that they were using him against the Jets. Well, now he's out with the calf strain a couple of weeks. And looking at the situation with the receiver, yeah, you're still a couple of weeks back from getting Ricky Pearsall on the field. Luckily, he is even thinking about football. He's so blessed to be alive after what happened in the attempted robbery in San Francisco. But when I look at the Niners receiver core, as we sit today, I think Juwan Jennings is your number one receiver. I don't think it's Brandon Ayuk. And don't sit here and tell me it's because he held out. Guess who else held out? CeeDee Lamb. How's CD look? Does CD look like he's missed a step? Does CD look like he's out of shape? No. He came in running at his best. He is playing in his prime right now. And Brandon Ayuk, you can't say the same about him. Now, I get it takes a little bit of time to get your football legs under you, but it shouldn't take a lot of time to have your God-given talent still right there, ready for use. And for whatever reason, this dude is not being able to get open. Windows are much smaller. Everything looks harder for him. And I'm not going to say the pressure of having that big contract plays into it. I think it's more the fact that he didn't get the work that he properly needed in the offseason. Throwing a football through the trees, that ain't going to do it when you're a receiver of his caliber. When you've got $30 million a year coming your way, you need more. So what does this do for the Niners? Here's what I do know. The schedule is friendly until you get through week 5. And I sure as hell hope Debo Samuel is ready to go once you guys get to game 6, because it is going to be a very, very uphill fight for the Niners, who Kyle Shanahan, how about him? He did not call a good game on Sunday. How about the offensive line? Not nearly as good as they were against the Jets. Not even close. Brock Purdy was running through his life many times. And I thought the running game, not nearly enough involved. I thought there should have been more balance. The Niners turn the ball over twice. You can't get off the field on third down, and you can't stay on the field. Converting third downs offensively, it was just not perfectly, but a well-played game defensively for the Vikings. And I chalk it up to this. You remember when the Kings went to Houston at the start of the season and got killed in back-to-back games? We're like, I can't believe the Kings lost to the Rockets like that. Like, are you kidding me? It's the Rockets. Well, as the season went along, we realized, all right, the Rockets are a little bit better than we thought. I think that's going to be the same case with the Minnesota Vikings. So a lot still to get to on football. We haven't even touched college. Deion Sanders back to his own ways. And I've got more on that as well. But we tell you all the time, Tuesdays are for Taco Tuesday. You get a day off from the NFL, right? But more importantly, Tuesdays around here are about one thing only, and that is our dear friend who joins us every single week, Mr. Jerry Reynolds. Jerry, did you take your extra day off this week?
I haven't, but I probably it's going to be today because I've got a kind of a head cold
no.
But I noticed a couple of people mentioned that maybe I was napping or something. But let me tell you something here. I'm playing hurt. I'm going to give you 110%. then I'll take a nap. Okay.
Yeah,
But
do not
yeah,
question Jerry.
yeah, about twice a year I get head colds, I think, from car air conditioning more than anything. But anyway, it's I'm feeling good, loving watching NFL and college football, which means basketball's around the corner. So,
Right around the corner. Anything catch your weekend or catch your eye over the weekend, NFL wise?
well, yeah, I think I was listening to you a little bit. I think Minnesota's going to turn out to be a little better than we all thought.
Yeah.
That's always the case. There's a couple of teams. New Orleans, of course, might be the biggest surprise. I mean, the way they're playing. I mean, I don't think, 2 games. It's like, as you know, I'm a Chiefs fan, and they've won, but they could have lost 2 just as easy as won them. And I wouldn't feel a great deal different. I mean, I think the best teams at the end of 17 games, most of them will sort it out, unless there's just an unusual number of injuries. I mean, I think if the Niners are healthy when it counts, and the Chiefs are healthy and the Bills are healthy, I mean, I think that's it's going to be that's who's going to be playing for it, because whoever's got the most talent and healthy talent will be contending. And so it's a little early. You just got to enjoy it, and, not overreact, which I always do. But I know in basketball the same way. You'll start the season, and if the season starts slow, everybody just assumes you can't really come back from it. And of course you can.
Yeah, it's you can't win a championship in September, number one, and usually it's the teams that get hot at the end. We've seen so many teams that get on a bender, get right, and they peak at the right time. So I'm with you. I mean, if you're gonna go through this as the Niners, this is the time to go through it, Jerry.
Exactly. And I mean, it was like the Chiefs last year. They really weren't anything to indicate they could win a Super Bowl most of the year. And they, defensively, they got so good as a win. And so I think it's it's like it's like the old golf saying, as you can't win the tournament on Thursday,
right?
But you can lose it on Thursday. And it's kind of like you said, I think you're not going to win the Super Bowl in September. Now you can put yourself out of playoff hunt in September if you're not careful. So,
bingo. So Jerry, I don't know why Manny is apologizing to you. He says, "I'm sorry, Jerry. You are the GOAT."
Well, you owe me no apologies, Manny, because I certainly I won't deny I need my naps. I won't deny that for a second. But so partly because as you age, I think I found that it's harder to get 8 hours of sleep.
Yeah. I hear that. I'm starting to get up a little bit more in the middle of the night, and I'm only 40.
Yeah, no, it doesn't. It really won't get better, and especially not to scare anybody out there. But when you have to get up 3 times a night to urinate,
Yes.
Well, hey, everybody's got the same problems, so that's good.
No doubt about it. Speaking of problems, I don't think it is fair to classify it as a problem. I think it's a great thing. DeMar DeRozan has released his new book, Above the Noise, where he talks about his struggles with depression. And he really lays out his background, Jerry, talking about his upbringing and experiences coming forward and talking about these things and the support that he's gotten from people in outside the NBA. And I wanted to talk to you about it because, really up until 2017, 2018, it was a little bit taboo to talk about mental health, any type of thing that's not physically bothering you, but mentally bothering you. And we've seen that change a little bit in the last few years. What kind of differences do you see from your coaching days and your time around the game early to where we're at now with players being more open about their mental health?
Yeah, it's changed, totally, 100%, because, as when I first started back in the 70s or late 60s, but I mean, it was a coach and the players, and if you're not happy, get happy.
Yeah.
That type of thing. And but I think my experience in the NBA certainly it changed dramatically even from that, because about every team now, after from the '90s on, I think probably had psychiatrists and psychologists on, if not sports psychologists on board, and certainly they were aware of athletes just like anyone could need some assistance, and of course that's a very good thing, because like I say, a lot of those type of issues probably were unfortunately overlooked or not taken seriously like they should have been some years ago. But it was that way in everything. You really didn't have the training staff to take care of injuries and doctors properly either, physical
Sure.
injuries as well as mental kind of issues. But it's great seeing some of the sports stars come out, the Kevin Loves, and
Yep.
I know with Andy Murray and different tennis players and some golfers, top guys. Yeah, I think playing at a highest level against, in the competition and all the stress that goes with it, probably, would probably rate right near, running a big business and all the issues that come with that and all the pressures and things. So it's good to see we're having more recognition. And a guy like DeMar, he's got a great platform because he is DeMar DeRozan, and much like Kevin Love, well, everybody knows who he is, and so it just much more significant.
Yeah, well said. It is a lot more significant. He's been doing a lot of media as of late. And, it's that old saying, if it helps one person, then you've done your job. But, hearing that types of transparency from an athlete, being that vulnerable, it can only help things. It's not going to hurt things.
Yeah, exactly. Transparency, being open. We all at some point need help. Of course, maybe in my case, I need help every day in some, but some of it can't be cured. But but I mean, in seriousness, I mean, I think there's times where everybody goes through periods of depression and all that. Most time it's not serious. You can get through it on your own. But if you can't, there's help out there.
Yep, exactly. Exactly. Well said by Jerry. Jerry Reynolds joining us here on Jerry Reynolds Tuesday. So there was a question in the chat asking if you have one moment that is your favorite over the last 40 years being around basketball, and specifically Kings basketball in the last 30.
Ooh, well, that's a great question. I mean, there's so many, but I would say off the hand, the one that just I remember the most would be Mike Bibby's game winner, Game 5 in the 2001 playoffs. I mean, Weber said actually it's an illegal screen, but they weren't about to call it.
Yeah, not in that game.
And got Bibby open, and Bibby knocked it down. But after I thought getting kind of screwed in Game 4, of course, and then of course the Game 6 took it to new levels.
Yes,
I've screwed them, but
that elbow.
But anyway, yeah, it was a great series, and yeah, that was one. I mean, I always I think another one for me was, it sounds weird, but one of the highlights for me was a preseason game during the lockout year when Jason Williams was a rookie, and they played just a preseason exhibition game, and Jay Will was Jay Will, and all of a sudden, I mean, maybe 8,000 people there, but he put on a little Jay Will type show, and I was so excited. I remember driving home with my wife, and she was saying, "Boy, you're just giddy as a toddler almost." I said, "Yeah, this team's going to be really good, and it's going to be. I said it may not be top of the West, but it's going to be really fun and good." And I said, haven't been able to say that in a long time, but I mean that was just one of those moments. Yeah. Watching that pickup, I said, "Well, this is going to work." With Rick Adelman as a coach, and he had the patience to kind of tolerate Jay Willisms, and then of course Weber and those guys. And so, in my mind, it's like, okay, this team will get us on the right track, and of course, it really did.
Well, you saw some daylight, right? You're thinking there's some light at the end of that tunnel. Wait a minute, are we going to kick this thing open?
Well, yeah, it was really one of those amazing things because everything just clicked at the right time. In other words, coming off a terrible season, Eddie Jordan had been the coach and had injuries. Mitch Richmond was injured at the end of the year and like lost 19 of the last 20.
Yeah.
It was a true until later, of course, into about 2019 or 20 would have equaled that. But you got two rookies at the same time, Paige Stojakovic and Jay Will. Paige had been drafted the year before, but stayed in Europe.
Mm-hmm.
Made the trade to get Weber. Vlade is a free agent, and and everything, and a couple of other just kind of pickup free agents like Scott Pollard and John Barry and Vernon Maxwell, and all of a sudden, it all worked. And of course, maybe the most important part was getting Rick Adelman, but. Yeah, I mean, people say, that, it's like in football, we'll say, well, Minnesota, how can they be good or whatever? Well, one year, what happened last year doesn't mean it can't be different the next year, with little addition of talent plus maybe coaching plus just getting the breaks, getting together. It's a fine line, it's a fine line between the best teams and the worst teams, really.
Yeah. So when Petrie was building that team, Jerry, was there a clear vision of the type of guys that they were looking to bring in? Or was it more of, wait, you know what? This piece would actually fit well with what we got going here. And wait a minute, what if we did this? Did it kind of come together as things were going on?
That's a great question. I tell you, I really think, and, certainly I was involved in all that, so I know. I mean, I think that at first it was like we got to get players that are, good players. Just actual NBA players. When we were trying to turn it around, really didn't know how it would all fit.
Okay.
Just get talent, and then Coach Adelman, he'll be able to maximize it to its best, which he did, and it was a 27 and 23 team, I think, that year, then went on to have a good playoff. But the point being, and your point is right, is the key part, like where the Kings are now, is that it's really about getting fits.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, later on, Jay Will, for all of his talent, had become kind of an issue off the court and some other issues. So he was traded for Mike Bibby, who was wasn't a better player, but a better fit.
Right. Spot on.
And the reason it worked was because the year before they traded Corliss Williamson, a terrific player, for Doug Christie. And I wouldn't say that Doug was better. He was different and a great fit. But when you got Doug, then you knew you wouldn't have to have a true point guard like Jay Will. And so Mike, so basically it was now to get really better. It's not always about talent. You don't get worse talent.
No.
But get equal talent, but at the right spots. And I thought that's where Jeff did an amazing job. And I think with Rick Adelman's input, I always remember being in all those meetings. And so you had a lot of people that kind of knew what they were doing. And, and then key things like Tony Delk, who was an outstanding sixth man there for 1 year, let him go to free agency because thought that the salary demands were too much, and it was very unpopular at that time, and picked up Bobby Jackson.
There you go.
And of course, Bobby turned out to be much better than Tony. But but there again, but it is about once you've got the core, surrounding it with talent as well as fits, and I think that's and it's a process, and I think that's why I'm encouraged about this team. Addition of DeRozan to the roster, I think, is a real step. Now we'll see. I think there's another step probably is going to have to be made.
Sure,
but it's a step in the right direction. Adding talent that should be a good fit.
It certainly is to me. I mean, all the things we talked about last year where the Kings struggled, the mid-range, even though they shot a high percentage from the mid-range, getting to the free throw line, DeMar DeRozan feels like that piece of the puzzle that really fits a place the Kings needed to fill.
Yeah, I think we've talked about this before, but
Yeah.
I think that if he can play to the level he's played last year, which he was now he may not have the same stats. He could play better and have less scoring average of it, but which I think will happen, be more productive. But he brings, like you said, he's going to get to the line, and this team didn't get to the line enough, and he makes them. And he makes his free throws,
Yep.
and then my mind is one of the most important things he'll do is he's going to get the Kings team in the penalty sooner. This team spent a lot of quarters and never got in the penalty. They couldn't draw enough fouls, and that's especially in fourth quarters. That's almost always the difference in close games. A team that gets in the penalty sooner and during dry spells can still score points at the line.
Certainly. And also, when you get to the free throw line, you get the other team in the penalty, you can set your defense. And the Kings last year, they were at times terrible in transition defensively, but they were hardly ever setting their defense because they were missing so many shots.
That's another great point. I think sometimes as fans we don't think about that, but every team is better in transition offensively, and every team is worse defensively in transition.
Great point.
You can't find your man, but if they have to take the ball out of bounds after a free throw, there's no reason you can't get your defense set. You really should after made baskets as well, but it's harder these days because teams are so much better at getting it in quick and pushing it. But you still, it's inexcusable when you think about it. It's like a guy has to step out of bounds, so it's 4-on-5. You got 4 offensive players in bounds against 5.
That's right.
So to say you can't hustle your butt down there and get set, it's pretty ridiculous, really.
Yep, I'm completely with you. Jerry joining us here on the Kings Court for Jerry Reynolds Tuesday. So the Kings reportedly TJ Warren in for some run and some workouts. Also Nazir Little. Now TJ Warren, he's played about 26 basketball games in the last 2 or 3 seasons. Nazir Little, Jerry, anything here? Do you think these are guys that might want to come on for a training camp? Non-guaranteed contract. What are your thoughts on the fits?
Well, my guess is I think Jay Crowder is one of them too.
Yeah.
Looking for veteran guys. I don't know. I mean, they don't have a lot of choice. I don't think any of them, or they wouldn't be in a workout. I mean, I don't think they have any offers, but I'm sure they'd like to get something guaranteed. Now,
right,
a younger guy like Little might be the better opportunity there, and I would tend to be a little more interested in him at this stage, if of anybody, because TJ Warren was terrific 4 years ago.
He was.
But it's a little bit like the Isaiah Thomas thing. Injuries, had some serious injuries, and has never really been able to come back and play at any kind of a productive level. And then Jay Crowder has been a good player, but he hasn't really been a very productive player for about 2 seasons. So my question there is do you want a former good player that's older, that's not going to play much on your team? I mean, because you can really open yourself up to a lot of issues. I mean, I know back through the years that sometimes bringing veterans in, and if they didn't play, could be little locker room issues, as it were.
And that's the last thing this team needs.
Last thing it needs. I mean, if you're going to have locker room issues, it should be with stars, not 15th men.
Yeah, 100%. And coming off of last year, I mean, where you have Fox, who went through the spell where he didn't talk to the media and there wasn't a ton of clarity. This needs to be a cleaner locker room. And I know Harrison Barnes, consummate professional. You guys talk about it all the time. But it feels like DeMar coming in, Foxy wanting DeMar DeRozan here, that this could have a little bit of that. It freshens up the room a little bit. It's a new person to learn from, listen to.
Yeah, I mean, I think DeMar's got a lot of the Harrison Barnes qualities. I mean, really, the roster and the guys they had on the team, I don't think you said there's any issues with any of them. They're all good guys and like one another. And sometimes you wish they'd play better, but that would be it. But I think DeMar will from everything I know, and I know quite a few people that know him, and you can't find a bad word anywhere. The guy's just been a star that's been, basically a humble guy that goes out there and really performs better than the credit he's given, I think, for the most part of his career. So, yeah, I don't anticipate it. I think that's one thing Mike Brown and his staff have been good about, and I think when you're two stars, De'Aaron and Sabonis are such good guys,
Yeah.
and really unselfish. They got different kinds of games. I mean, De'Aaron could score more if he really wanted to, but he does sacrifice some of it for the team. And of course, Sabonis is probably too unselfish, if there ever is such a thing in the NBA. But if there is, it'd be him.
100%. That's where that confidence. Step into a couple of them. Make the defense have to guard you. That's what it is. Make the defense have to guard you.
Yeah. So it's always that way, kind of like in any sport, right?
Yeah, exactly. So a lot of questions over the past week after you and I talked about what, assuming the Kings starting lineup, let's say it is De'Aaron, it's Keon Ellis, DeMar, Keegan, and Sabonis. There's been a lot of questions about the spacing on the floor, Jerry, and if you think that's going to be an issue with DeMar thrown into the mix.
I don't think so, and I'll say why. I mean, it's like DeMar isn't known as a deadly three-point shooter. He's actually getting better, by the way. But one thing he can do, I mean, he's always been a really good 20-foot jump shooter.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's still spacing. I mean, it's a little different, but he's extremely good at that area, and the corner three has become a pretty good shot for him. It should be for anybody, really. But I don't see it as a real issue. I'm not saying it couldn't be at times, but I think with the type of firepower, with Keegan and Monk and De'Aaron, who really have a lot of range, Herter, they, to me, with DeRozan, I mean, the fact that he certainly can make a three, but more importantly, he can make you got to guard him. I mean, you got to guard him because he can make the 20-footer at a high rate, and that still creates spacing.
Bingo. And you get Sabonis back down low. I mean, DeMar's game, we talked about it a little bit last week. His passing's underrated. He can find the right guy, and most times he does. He's kind of been a chameleon at every stop. There's not really been anybody that he can't mesh with. And so in some ways, I feel like it's playing to each of the core strengths. You get Keegan that can spot up a little bit more. If Kevin gets some run with that unit or the second unit, he gets to spot up a little bit more. And those guys are finishers more than they are creators.
Yeah, I don't see why, really. I'd be surprised if it doesn't work. I mean, not saying you're coming out of the box, they'll go 10-0 or something, but I think this team is going to find a way to be really good offensively every night. And I just don't see that as an issue. But I do see, defensively it could be. I think their size could hurt them at times and length.
Yeah.
But that's something they'll have to deal with because they know going in that they're not as long and athletic as some teams. Having said that, I do think that Keon Ellis, really we saw a different dimension with him at the end of the year where he and De'Aaron really created a lot of problems for guards. And then Keegan, I think, has really made amazing strides as a defender with his length and athleticism. And so, there's no reason to believe that he can't make a stride there himself.
I'm completely with you. To me, Keegan defensively to the Kings is what De'Aaron is to the offense. Keegan's offensive game has no bearing on the effort and how he plays on the defensive end. And most games, he has a tough assignment. In most games, he's always in the right position, taking charges. So I'm completely on the same page with you.
Yeah, it was really amazing when you think about it. As a second-year player last year, he was always pretty much guarding the other team's
best wing,
and and did an outstanding job at it. And as you said, I mean, worked his butt off, and some games really wasn't part of the offense like maybe he should have been. And so, yeah, I just think he's such a gift, really. I don't know what his ceiling is, but I know he's whatever it is, he'll reach it eventually, and he's part of the solution, certainly not part of the problem.
That's always a good thing, right? Being part of the solution.
Yeah, because I've always said I've been some teams where guys were, they were part of the problem and they weren't part of the solution.
Oh man, and yeah, their goals are different than everybody else's. We don't like those ones too much.
No.
So a team that's been an interesting case study, a lot of people talking about them with the addition of Tyus Jones, the Phoenix Suns. Jerry, have you figured this team out yet? How do you think Tyus Jones helps them?
Sadly, I think he'll really help them.
Yeah, me too.
I hated to see that. I like Tyus Jones. I mean, he's a journeyman point guard. I mean, he's certainly not a star, will never be, but he'll get you into plays. He can make open shots, and he'll find better shooters. And maybe the most important thing for the Suns, it allows Booker to go back to being a scoring guard, which
right.
there's few as good as him. And and Booker did a nice job trying to be the point guard and playmaker and scorer, but that's not who he is. I mean, he is. Booker to me is Kobe Bryant light, kind of the junior version of Kobe, and that's a hell of a player.
A hell of a player. In some ways, you're wasting his talents by having him distribute and administrate for them. I wonder. I just don't know. Have you seen enough of that core? Booker, no problem there. Beal, you know what it is. Kevin Durant, you saw him in the Olympics, played really well, but seems to be on the decline. Do you think this Phoenix Suns team can get it done?
I think they're going to be good, but I don't necessarily see them better than the Kings. In other words, I don't see them as Oklahoma City, Minnesota, Denver, Dallas. I would offhand have to put those four at the top one way or another. But I think they could be a contender, and I think Tyus Jones is the key. And the other key might be, and I really think from a coaching standpoint, I'll second guess here a little bit, they need to get Beal make him an off-the-bench player.
Interesting.
I mean, he can still score, but you can't really count on him every night due to various things, and he's not the player he once was. I don't know how he'd adjust to that, but I think for them, he needs to adjust to that.
Very interesting.
Because I really think at this stage, Grayson Allen is a more valuable player for him. The way he fits in and just really is a knockdown shooter and better defender.
You love Grayson Allen, and there's a lot to love. He was near the top of the league in 3-point percentage all last year.
Yeah, and he fits with Durant and Booker so well because they're going to draw the attention, and he doesn't take anything but good shots, and I think it's a little bit like Keon Ellis can be for the Kings. Just, hey, all you got to do is take the open shots. You'll get open shots. If Keon decides he has to be an offensive player, then I'm not sure what his value really will be, but just, you're going to get open shots because of DeRozan and Sabonis and Fox. Just take the wide open ones and make 40% of your threes and play defense like you do. And that's what, like I say, that's what Grayson does.
Bingo. And in some way, I know a lot of fans are saying he's got that Doug Christie role. Well, I liken it to this, Jerry, because the constant debate this offseason has been, should Malik Monk move into the starting lineup? I think you're wasting firepower if you put Malik in that starting lineup. I think having Keon in the starting lineup doesn't only suit you better defensively, but it suits the offense better for the reasons that you just stated.
Yeah, I like it better that way because, I mean, and I know and I understand Malik's point, and his point would be, I'm one of the 5 best players. And yes, you are.
Yep.
You're clearly one of the 5 best players, but sometimes the team's better without the 5 best players starting at the same time.
Right.
And I, like you say, I mean, I think with Keon, he's a good fit, with De'Aaron and also with Malik. He can guard the bigger guard, the better one in each case, and play off the ball a little more. So it's I think it works well, and I'd be surprised if that's not what they do. And, the analogy of Doug Christie isn't a bad one. I
No,
mean,
it's not.
the only difference I would say, and in deference to Doug, in my mind, is much better playmaker
Yes.
than Keon. I mean, I think his 3-point shooting and defense is similar, but that was Doug's playmaking ability was really underrated. In fact, it was probably better than Bibby's, and that's why it fits so well. But but I don't think he needs to be because of Fox.
Certainly, and yeah, Doug used to be great around the rim. He could get to the rim, finish strong. Loved it all the time. So the Kings announced, Jerry, we'll get you out on this because I want to give you some extra time to rest up. The Kings announced their classic edition jerseys. They're the Kings wore them in 2003, 4, and 5. I think it's got the Sacramento across, which brought up the question in the chat that they wanted me to ask you. What is your favorite or some of your favorite Kings jerseys of all time?
Well, I really do like that. I saw that. I mean, I wish they would bring it back and keep it. I guess that's my main complaint. And I know that's, as fans would probably say, well, you're an old curmudgeon, which is true, of course. But I just hate all the, what's your team colors? I've always said, my feeling is that when you look at the great franchises in sports, whether it's the Green Bay Packers or the Boston Celtics or the Duke Blue Devils, Kentucky Wildcats, in basketball, things don't change much.
That's right.
I mean, they'll have changes in their uniforms, but very little through the years, and the colors don't change. Their main colors never change, and I just think it's a mistake, and it seems like the highly successful long-term franchises and teams, that's how they do it, and then the wannabes are all over the place. This will bear with me here, but the year that the Kings played in red uniforms, it's like, give me a break here. Find something to stay with it. You can have an extra, a road uniform or something a little different if you want to sell an extra jersey. But at some point, I like that a lot. Of course, I love the black and silver and purple kind of things too.
Yes, the 2001.
That'd been my favorite, to be truthful.
Yes.
And then the last thing I'd say about it is, I would just wish teams would get back at home, wear your white. And on the road, wear the color. Now, during the season, maybe once or twice, so the fans can see in the arena, see the team in their road uniforms. That's fine. But anyway, I mean, I just think that marketing people just get carried away with themselves, and of course, I guess we're trying to get people to buy 80 different jerseys, but get something that looks good, and that old one, I think, I'd build around that one and go down the road.
That was my favorite of all time too. We're on the same page there. Those gold jerseys, most of the fans hated them. Those were the worst.
Oh, the worst. Well, it brought back kind of a little bit of Lakerism or Warriorism, and I can't think of any two worse things to try to bring it into Sacramento Kings territory. So I was about ready to start a fire grab them and set them on fire. But I mean, it's I like I say that it's a small thing, but I just love the idea of Sacramento across the jersey. I mean, this team plays in Sacramento. It doesn't play in, nothing against Sacktown or Sacktoe or all that. But when you go to Chicago, they don't know Sacktoe, Sacktown. They know Sacramento.
That's right. I'm with you. The NBA must have loosened their rules. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought it was white at home and dark on the road. There was no in between.
It used to be, that's the way it had to be. and they've changed that, allowed or even encouraged it differently. And
Yeah.
really what it does, I pity the poor equipment guys because they got to schlep
Oh,
3 or 4 different sets of uniforms when they go on the road, as opposed to, of course, the old days, you took your road uniforms on the road and your home uniforms at home. That's the way it was. And so, yeah, well, they changed too. That's something I don't like particularly, and I think the fans probably like better than I do, is that the different colors shoes. Used to be they
right.
had to match the color of the team, and I
That's
always
right.
remember Michael Jordan. One, they kind of bent with him, but his original Jordan shoe was the Bulls colors. They just had maybe more color in it than the league wanted, but they went along with it, and I thought, well, that makes perfect as long as it's team colors. But when you got guys wearing, black uniforms with pink shoes or orange shoes, I know I'm old fashioned. I'm sorry, but I just don't see how that really adds anything.
I think it's more of like the kids thing. What do they call it? The chat can help us out. I think it's drip, Jerry. Your
Yeah.
drip game has to be on.
Well, and there again, it's like, okay, have your drip come to the arena, and just
Sure.
drip all over yourself. I don't care. but it's it's a team game.
Right.
That was the idea of uniforms. If you don't really want to have it be a uniform, then let each guy wear what he wants to play. A guy should be able to get his color of shorts and jerseys, and so I know that's taken to the ultimate level of silliness, but I don't, wouldn't surprise me at this stage.
Well, it's not ultimate silliness because I never played professional basketball, but we all had to wear the same pair of shoes in
Yeah,
college.
when you're in high
We were
school and
issued the
college,
same shoes.
yeah, basically the same type. And I know realize in the pros where guys got contracts, okay, everybody's got Adidas and Nike, okay, but
Yeah.
have them. They're giving you the shoes. They'll make them the color to match the team.
Yeah. Oh, they always
Pretty,
do.
it's really not nuclear science. There's so so anyway. So I think that's one of those trends that's kind of went in the wrong direction as far as I'm concerned.
I don't disagree with you. And for everybody in the chat and watching at home, the equipment manager doesn't just have to carry one jersey per player. They carry multiple jerseys for each different uniform they're wearing. Some guys like to change them at halftime. You got to worry about blood getting on them. So can't
No,
imagine the pain in the tail it is.
well, yeah, that's of course changed from my days. That's when I first came to league. You had the trainer, and he was also the equipment guy.
Oh, wow.
And the players would, because you flew commercials, so they'd have to schlep their own bags with uniforms as well, and it helped the trainer, and he'd take some extra stuff. Or in coaches, we'd do that too.
Yeah.
Nowadays, you got about 3 equipment guys that travel with the team, and a couple, 2 or 3 trainers, and 2 or 3 PR. It's a whole different world, and it's
Way
a lot
different.
better. But that was, I would say, I was the PR guy and coach, and the trainer was the traveling secretary and the equipment manager and the trainer. So it was, you had a full day of work ahead of you.
Oh yeah, you were wearing many, many hats. All right, Jerry. I want you resting. You don't even think about this show for 6.5 days. Get better. Have some chicken and dumplings, and enjoy the football this weekend.
All right, buddy. I'll do that, and I'll start preparing about Sunday if that's okay.
Well, I'll have my doctor check in with you.
Okay. Yeah.
Want to put you first.
I think I'll be able to go full tilt by Sunday.
All right. We will check it out. Jerry, take care. Thank you so much, buddy. That is Jerry Reynolds joining the show every Tuesday. If you don't know, you know now. We have so much fun talking Kings basketball right now. Sometimes we get into stuff like you guys wanted to talk about, uniforms and such, and you get some really cool answers, right? Some really cool answers and insights from the living legend. Definitely, Jerry is definitely a gamer. Yep, we got that one back. Hoping to feel better. Southern Justin, Iowa. What is up? Signing Ellis was a monumental move. You talking about Keon? You talking about Boogie for the non-guaranteed? Which Ellis we talking about? Patrick, what's up, dude? The worst was when the Knicks wore green jerseys for a game. Remind me too much of the Celtics. Yeah. It's funny when Jerry said that the Kings gold jerseys reminded him of the Lakers. They didn't remind me of the Lakers. They looked puffy. They looked uncomfortable. And by the way, the players now have it so much better than the players had it in the 90s. And even really, really before Dry Fit came out, the late 90s, early 2000s, those uniforms, some of those throwbacks that you can get, those Mitchell and Ness, they are not too far off from the game uniforms that the players wore with the heavy patches and kind of that mesh material. I don't even want to call it mesh because it wasn't kind of the netted material, but it was heavy. And now the jerseys are much lighter. They can get them to fit them however they want. But that is why it's why it kind of surprises me these days. Why you see players constantly, unless it's some type of protection under the jersey. Some guys will wear like the half shoulder pad or whatever. But when you see guys still wearing shirts and stuff like that under their jerseys, I'm surprised by it because anybody in the chat that has any of the Nike Dry Fit stuff, because it is the Nike Dry Fit that they use, it's a little bit better of a cut, but it's so much better than what we used before that. Just want to get talent, and then you want to get as much as you can. If it forces an issue to make a trade. All right, you guys are having a chat within the chat. I love it. Yeah, Rip City was for Portland. Yes, definitely. Jerry needs to rest up. Damn right, Joel. Damn right, Joel. You get just a little bit over a month until the season starts. Now, when I say the season starts, the regular season, we are under 40 days. October 24th. October 24th, the Timberwolves will be in town, face the Kings. The Kings, first time in a couple of years, they open up at home. Are you going to be going to the game? Let me know. What are your plans? How do you feel about the schedule? Yes, chicken and dumplings. Definitely, Jerry will get that. That's comfort food. What's everybody? Okay, we like to do these questions sometimes of the day. When you're sick, what's your go-to comfort meal that you want? Don't tell me chicken noodle soup, stuff like that. I don't want to hear what people usually want to hear. Like some people, I know a group of people that when they have a cold or something like that, McDonald's always sounds good to them. What's your comfort food when you're sick? Put it in the chat. We'll talk about that as we continue on with the show, which is brought to you by Bennett's West Side Grill in Rockland. It's the newest location in the Blue Oaks Town Center, but it's not the only. If you go to bennettsrestaurants.com, you can learn about all three their locations. Another one in Roseville, the other in Sacramento off of Howe and Fair Oaks. If you have not been to Bennett's, you are absolutely missing out. Not only do they have prime cuts of seafood and steak, they have amazing specials throughout the week. Like last night, Monday, wine and dine, $64, bottle of wine, 2 entrees. Can't beat it. Also, you've got Sips and Taste happy hour, 2 to 6 o'clock. And then we talked about the brunch at the top of the show, but it's brunch season right now. It really is. We took a break from brunch season. when it was like 121 degrees outside, but the weather is beautiful right now. Go check out their brunch, sit on one of their patios, enjoy some mimosas and some great food. We are so excited at Bennett's back for another season and thank them very much for sponsoring the King's Court and our other programming on If You Don't Like That. That is Bennett's West Side Grill in Rockland. Go to bennettsrestaurants.com to look at all of their menus. You can make reservations, buy gift cards, and so much more. All right. Fun. Jerry Reynolds Tuesday. We've talked a little bit of football today as well. Keep the chats coming. Want to hear from you guys. Dude, BJ, you're speaking my language. You are speaking my language. That is one of my go-tos. Pho, when you are not feeling it, that broth, something about the broth in pho when you are sick, it like soothes your soul. With you there. Dennis says wonton soup. That's not a bad choice either. There you go. Okay, so we got a couple of soups in there. It's funny how when people have pho for the first time and they don't realize that the meat goes in there raw, or if you order it to go for the first time and your meat's raw, you're like, wait a minute, they didn't cook my meat. It's like the broth cooks your meat. Come on, y'all. But no, that's good stuff indeed. So a lot over the weekend in football, by the way, some wacky things, some things that you don't see every day. How about the Green Bay center? Not sure if you heard about this, but the Green Bay center vomited on the football prior to snapping it to backup quarterback Malik Willis. Yes, he vomited on the football. Head coach Matt LaFleur was asked about this after the game. Here's what he had to say.
Yeah, I asked Malik why he didn't throw the ball on that third down, and he told me that Josh threw up on the ball. I was like, that's the first time I've ever heard that. Matter of fact, the official came over to me, Sean came over to me and said, you know, we saw your center thrown up on the ball. Do you want us to take him out next time? I said, absolutely. Please do that because, I mean, you're talking about a critical situation, and it's third down, and I've never had a throw with vomit on a football. So I don't know. I don't think Malik probably didn't appreciate that.
Malik probably didn't appreciate that. Yeah, well, how about the player? Is he okay? Hey, ref, maybe you want to go check on the player. I must say, though, the most impressive thing about this entire situation, and we've seen players have reversals on the field before, but the most impressive thing was that the center did not get a false start penalty. How do you pull that off? That is amazing to me. Some of the other really great things that I saw from this weekend. How about Kevin Harlan? Is Kevin Harlan just the best? They kicked it to New York for an update on the Jets and Titans game, and Nate Burleson was having some technical issues. Kevin Harlan was calling his game. This is what he did.
Kansas City, and let's take you to Nate Burleson in New York.
I can't hear anything.
I can hear you. Go, Nate, go. Here we go. Rodgers against Tennessee, and they're going deep, and it was caught by the Titans. Ridley with a touchdown reception. The former Jacksonville Jaguar, Will Levis, with a long throw for Tennessee. Back to Minneapolis. All right, Nate, thank you. Second down 6.
All right, Nate, thank you. Kevin Harlan, the ultimate professional. If you've seen some of the calls he's done, he's called the streaker. That was gold. He's done so many different things. He is both an amazing play-by-play guy, basketball, football, but even a more amazing person off of the court. Kevin does a ton and I mean a ton when it comes for broadcasters that are up and coming, those cutting their teeth early on in the league. Mike Francesa had an interesting take on Brian Dable and the Giants. Mike Francesa thinks that the Giants, that Coach Rabel has quit on the team. Here's what Mike Francesa had to say.
I'll tell you something. When I see Dable now, I don't see the coach who had a little glint in his eye and a little bit of a swagger in his first year. I see a guy who looks like he wants to jump off a bridge, and I see a guy who just wants to give you short answers and wants to, you can tell that he's up to here with all of it, and he knows he's looking down the barrels at a long season.
He is definitely looking down the barrels at a long season. Now, I will say this. Daniel Jones had a little bit of a bounce back game. I was happy for him. But how do you, if you're Coach Dable, one, why is your kicker, who already has a groin injury that you knew about going into the game, tell me why that kicker is covering the kick the way that their kicker was? He gets hurt with his hamstring. That play, they go the rest of the game without a kicker. Now, you'll remember, I'm going to jump over to college really quick. Last week, we talked about Deion Sanders. And I had some pretty poignant things to say. I questioned what was more important at that program. Was it winning? Was it attention? Was it promoting the players? What was most important? Well, they won on Saturday playing their rivals, Colorado State. They won fairly handily, which brought up a really interesting point in the game. Colorado State turned it over on downs to Colorado. Colorado had about a minute 45 left. They could have simply just ran out the clock. Instead, they chose this.
Play action. They take a shot.
Wow.
And it's incomplete.
So if you remember against North Dakota State, they could have just run the clock out, and instead they threw the ball. This was a couple games ago. There's a minute 41, and it's first and 10. Instead, they try to take a shot, and that gave North Dakota State a chance to throw a Hail Mary where they came up 4 yards short. They also snapped the ball with 11 seconds on the play clock on that last play. That is not smart.
They're down in 6. Going to throw it again. Sanders fires sideline. It's broken up. Sissima on the coverage. So what do you make of this?
I don't know what to – I got to be honest with you. I think this has to be coming from Deion Sanders because I just can't imagine that this is what Pat Shurmur would want to be doing in this situation. I mean, he's a 3-time NFL head coach. I think Pat would just be taking a knee and winning the football game and not taking a chance that any offensive lineman gets hurt or that the quarterback gets hit again. Now they're going for it on 4th down.
And Sanders in the pocket gets hit, and it's incomplete.
I mean, he just took another hit from a D tackle.
This makes no sense. It's a long season.
You know what? I'm not even going to say it. I'll let him say it.
Bingo. Bingo.
So Deion throws the ball 4 times. Son takes a hit. And then after the game, Deion steps up to the podium and addresses the media in this manner.
I mean, you guys buried him last week. I think you didn't say anything tremendously positive when I think they almost went for 500 yards to the offense. We won, right? Where was the praise and the love? But it was a lot of hate and disdain. And here we go again. Here we go again. Yeah, that's what they got. I mean, these are young men. They're not old as I am. Blacks with great and have wisdom and understand how to handle the foolishness. They're not like that, man. They still feel the feelings and emotions. I mean, they get those text messages and that stuff they have online, and they get the DMs and they get all this stuff, and that's not. It don't make them feel well because you're treating them like professionals. I don't mind, but just treat everybody the same, and I'm cool.
Shador and Travis and the number one offense being in at the end.
No.
Okay.
I mean, we want to score. The game is about scoring, isn't it? I don't know protocol. When you should have called me and told me when to put off. You're supposed to. They was trying to. As long as the other team is trying to score, we're trying to score. That's my rule.
And is that as good as Travis can?
So, Dion, hold on. You said you weren't going to address those things. You said, if you notice too, if you listen to this entire press conference, there's points where media members are starting to ask questions and he cuts them off. Don't go there. Okay. Dion, let me ask you this. You talk about practicing what you preach, right? Isn't that what you were saying? We're not going to go to your level. We're going to practice what we preach. But then you give a ton of passive aggressive answers about the Colorado State coach, the disrespect that they showed you, treating everyone equally. Well, then, Dion, why are you banning certain reporters and certain publications from covering your team, Dion? It's becoming a bigger joke every single week, win or lose, when this guy comes up to the podium. It's very apparent he does not want to be there. Okay. I don't think a lot of athletes, a lot of coaches enjoy going to the podium, but there's something different going on in this program. And I still can't put my finger on it. I really can't. Did you notice how they're afraid? They're tiptoeing. Can we ask about this? Can we? Because they don't want to get their credentials ripped away. They don't want to get ripped a new one. Like, this thing has turned into the Deion Sanders show, which you knew it would be. It usually is at most of his programs. But before this stop, the Deion Sanders show was charming. It was just Deion being Deion. I don't recognize this Deion anymore. And I'm kind of getting tired. Actually, I'm not kind of getting tired. I am getting tired of the act. It's a terrible example. You're talking about treating these kids like professionals. Well, first off, Deion, a lot of them are professionals. Your son is making millions of dollars in NIL money. Travis Hunter making a lot of money in NIL. They are professionals. Now they're playing still in NCAA sport, but they are running businesses, the businesses of themselves. So, yes, they should be open to more questions. There's nothing wrong. There's nothing more that is being asked of these programs or of these players than any other big school in the country. If you want the run, the attention comes with it. And, BJ says narcissism on parade. It's really confounding. I don't understand it, because don't sit there and say we're not going to go to their level, and then your actions, don't you say actions speak louder than words? Don't we hear that so many times? Deion's actions, the way he's approaching this thing, is counterintuitive. And if you're trying to set an example for a group of players that you're protecting, the way that I see it right now, you're not setting a very good example. And so it's something that I'm sure is not going to get better. I'm sure there's going to be a lot more to talk about as the season goes on. But throwing 4 times in that situation, it's just it's bad form. Isn't the goal of the game winning, to score points? Yes, the goal of the game is to win. But shouldn't you be winning with class? And that's even to a bigger point. If this is about winning, why are you setting your best players up to possibly get hurt in time that doesn't matter? And some of the reporters addressed that. It was what it was. Dion's back to his old ways, his same ways, I should say, when it comes to the University of Colorado. Now, Tua, we do have an update here. Tua has said that he has, or reportedly has said he has no plans to retire once he is cleared from the concussion. Ian Rappaport had more on that. Here's Ian.
First of all, Rich, Mike McDaniel is exactly right. Tua Tagovailoa and his doctors will be making the decisions about his playing, his health. They will be driving the process. My understanding is that Tua Tagovailoa has no plans to retire. No plans to retire. In fact, his eyes are already on returning to the football field. As far as when that goes, we simply do not know. Every concussion is different. The way every player responds to a concussion is different. He will be healthy enough to play when he is healthy enough to play and when he and his doctors decide that. That said, he has already begun the process of seeing concussion specialists as he did in 2022. Wouldn't be surprised if he saw these same doctors. The goal is to get on the field when he is ready. And that's one reason which why Mike McDaniel did not put a timeline on it, wouldn't even address it. Timelines lead to anxiety. As far as the football goes, wouldn't be surprised if he misses multiple games. As Mike McDaniel said, Skylar Thompson.
So that is the latest on Tua. A lot of people have weighed in on what they think Tua should do. It's his decision. We talked about it at length on Friday. It's his body. We'll see what ends up happening. Certainly, he's still going to be meeting with a number of specialists and the Dolphins trying to tread water until that point. But even before Tua got hurt, Grant said this yesterday, they looked bad. They looked real bad. The energy was not right in Miami. Yes, Tua is on the IR, Peter. So that was something they originally said they were not going to do, but he is, which is 4 games. Last thing I want to close with, we don't talk a ton of this around here, but I want to at least mention it. UFC held UFC 306 this last weekend, and it was the first sporting event at the Spear. Not only did the card, at least the front half of the card, deliver, it was incredible. The presentation was off the charts. I can only imagine what it would have been like to be there live. Watching it on TV, it blew my mind. I can't wait to see what is next at this building, at this facility. I already called it. I went to my X account. I think you will see a WWE event there sooner rather than later. In fact, WrestleMania. What's up, Kevin? Hope you had a good birthday weekend, by the way. Celebrated 53 this last weekend. Hey, Bane, let me ask you a question. Why do Kevin's emojis come in? What's up with that? His come in, yours don't. Are you doing something bad with your emojis, Bane? Anyways, WWE WrestleMania week is going to be held in Las Vegas. I am going on the record and I am predicting that WWE Raw after WrestleMania, they're going to try to do it at the Spear. That would be my guest. Hedo. I like it. Hedo Turkoglu. Haven't said that name in a while since we did the audio game here on the King's Court. If I could tell you what my son hit me with today, actually it was last night. I was blown away. I'm like, okay. We need to sit and have a talk. He hit me with a, hey, do you know D's? And I'm not going to finish the comment from there, but I'm like, okay. What's next? Shata? Is Shata going to be next? D's, any of you guys in here, you can finish out the rest of that comment. But what? What happened to my innocent little man? I'm getting hit with these one-liners now. I told you guys about the knuckle sandwich thing, send you to the moon. My goodness, times are a-changing. But anyways, hey, we've got a good full rest of the day for y'all. Grant and I are going to be back tonight at 8 o'clock doing open forum show, which means we want your phone calls. We want your questions. Want you to get involved in the show. A lot to talk about from the football side of things. I have not even breached everything that I wanted to get to. I had a big breakdown of the Raiders and the Ravens. Also wanted to talk more about the Niners and the Vikings and where the Niners go from here. We've kind of hit on a little bit about it. Yes, there you go. Thank you, Peter. Picking me up. Appreciate it, Peter. D's, that is exactly where it went. By the way, Pick'em League. Let's go over this really quick before we dismiss. After 2 weeks, Blue Chaos had a huge week too. They are at 23 wins. Sole first place. Then you've got Latvia, 21 wins. Maggie, where you at? Maggie making a comeback. Maggie.
Boy, that escalated quickly.
Your picks escalated quickly. You jumped up the board. You've got 19 points overall. You're 19-12. You're number 3. Number 4, B-Rose stacking C notes. Then you've got Bane. What? That can't be right. That can't be right. Bane barkling up wrong tree. Now, he got creative with the name there. Good job, Bane. He's got 18. He's in 5th place. Then you've got Mile High Club. Interesting. Cody, is that you? Mile High Club. I only say Cody because he's a Denver fan, and I'm taking the cleaner of the two routes there. But Mile High Club, 17. Vicky's a fan. Vicky is a fan. Has jumped up the list at 7 with 17 wins. Maximus, 209, 17 wins in 8th place. 9th place, the pick is in with 17, and rounding out the top 10, Baby Yaga. That's interesting. These team names are great. I am going to be giving away a Bennett's gift card to the best one. I got to scroll through and decide which one it's going to be. But that is your top 10. Corn Dog drops out of the top 10. He is number 11. He's at 16 and, looking at the wrong one. Corn Dog, where did you go? Oh, did you drop even further? Excuse me. Corn Dog dropped all the way to 15th. He's at 16 and 15. Now, I will say this. We have how many players? We've got 14, 15. We have 15 players. This is impressive, by the way. 15 players that are 500. That is very impressive through 2 weeks. So good job to all of you. I am 21st. BJ has me by a game. He is at the 20 spot. I'm not sure where Napes is at. Let's see. Can I find Napes really quick? Haunted Horse, I'm beating you. That's okay. Dem Boys, not to be confused with D's, they are bringing up the rear, 51 with no picks. So they must have just signed up. Congratulations, Dem Boys, for signing up. Love it. And it's not too late to sign up. If you are not in our Pick'em League, get in the Pick'em League. We would love to have you. You've missed the first 2 weeks, so you got some work to do. You got to pick well. but get up in there. We do it through Yahoo. 3rd year that we're doing it. Grant and I are putting it on. Our reigning champion, Peter Anderson, who's in the chat, just picked me up a second ago. He knows he won the $100 gift card last year. Well, we're doing it bigger this year. We've got 2 different $100 gift cards for the winner. So make sure you get signed up. Again, not too late, free to sign up, free to get in. It is a lot of fun. And who knows, maybe you will hear your name right here on our programming, giving you an update on where you stand. I see Patrick, he's at 46th. He's got a little bit of work to do. Grant, Mark is up there. He's a little bit higher. I don't see Grant. Where is Grant? I know he's somewhere. Maybe he's actually within the top 15. So anyways, we'll keep updating that, but a lot of fun. Tomorrow, by the way, Grant and Sean, 3 o'clock, which means there's no King's Court at 2. We're jumping around because of Grant and Sean, and then also the NBA season. There you go. Peter's on it. Napes is 24th. There you go. Yes, so we're jumping around. King's Court will be night court tomorrow. Night court tomorrow. 8 o'clock, we'll be doing the King's Court at night. That'll be a lot of fun. 3 o'clock, though, Grant and Sean catch up on all the football. They're going to have a bunch to talk about. I didn't even get to my CJ Stroud thing. I'll just tell you real quick in a nutshell. CJ Stroud is the best quarterback in the NFL, not named Patrick Mahomes. CJ Stroud is playing well beyond his years. That Texans team is built so well. They easily, in my opinion, have the best wide receiving core in the league. And CJ Stroud, the plays he is making, both on the run and just the simple little things that make the big differences, waiting on certain plays, knowing exactly timing-wise when to get things off. This kid's the real deal. CJ Stroud is not Patrick Mahomes. He's not close to being Patrick Mahomes. Doesn't need to be. He can be CJ Stroud. He is the second best quarterback in the NFL and the future face of the NFL, in my opinion. So, all right, come back at 8 o'clock tonight. Grant and I are going to be back. We can't wait to do that. Thank you so much for being here today for Jerry Reynolds Tuesday. Fun conversation with him. And yeah, we're getting ready for 8 o'clock tonight. YouTube, we got that little bug fixed, so you can see the shows are already scheduled and up. Hopefully you can join us on your football bye day. You got a day and a half of buys left, and then Thursday night, back at it. Another football game. But until then, Grant, Rhino, tonight, 8 o'clock, open forum. We want to hear from you. Get in here on the phone lines. Also, get in on the chat. It will be a very fun show. Those night shows, if you haven't been a part of one, they are really good time. We end up getting a lot of good calls. So make sure you put that down on your calendar. Get back in here. We would love to have you. Tadora, hit it.
Holy moly, Jimbo.
All right, King's Court back tomorrow at 8 o'clock. Grant and Ryan, open forum tonight, 8 o'clock. Sean and Grant, which we'll talk about later tonight, that is tomorrow at 3 o'clock. My thanks to Jerry Reynolds, as always, for coming on and picking us up and having another great conversation on a Tuesday. My thanks to all of you. I hope you make it a great rest of the day. Be back 8 o'clock tonight. Grant and Ryan, open forum. Go Kings. Light the damn beam. Court is dismissed until 8 o'clock. See you then.